And we're back.
And we're back.
Part 2.
What was for you a week in the real world is mere minutes for us. The magic of movie making.
We didn't even change our shirts.
Look at us. All right. So today we're diving into a tier list. I thought this would be fun. Very YouTube-y. I see a lot of the cool YouTubers doing this. So
It's entertaining.
we should do it too.
Did you like the cereal one?
Yes. Yeah.
That's Adam sent me this like cereal one where they rank. I'm a big cereal guy.
Yeah.
You are too.
Oh, 100%. It's total crush.
I can't eat it like I used to, but it was fun to like see the cereals that like I'd never tried, you know, like, oh, that one's pretty good, I guess.
Yeah.
I need to try that one. Tons of sugar.
Tons of sugar. So this is a tier list of the best types of businesses to own. So as an entrepreneur, what businesses do you want to own and run? I think our ranking system should be this: the most potential to make money and the least amount of stress, right? That's the best type of business to run.
Absolutely.
Easy money, low stress, low impact on life. The worst type of business to run would be
high stress, no money.
High stress, no money. I was talking to Stacy and she was like, oh, like a teacher. Because my wife is a school teacher. She's like, oh, like a teacher. I'm like, yeah, kind of.
But we don't have a teaching podcast. We have a small business.
There we go. So we're doing small business. I have 10 categories here. You want to just rip through them? We got to come to consensus
we don't own these, you know, or we're not a part of these really. So, I mean, on a small level, there's some crossover with some of them, but like,
well, there's 2 of the 10 that we own. I put professional services in there, which is me, and then restaurant owner, which is you.
Right. So we won't, but maybe we can even like talk a little bit about what we think, you know, each one would be like, but you know, just offer up a perspective. But like, we obviously don't know the ins and outs.
Yeah, this is just, I mean, I think both of us know people that are in these things and we hear enough stories. You know, once you start business ownership in circles, you get to talking to people that own these types of places. So I feel like, I don't know. Yeah, I've probably talked to somebody that owns each one of these types of businesses.
Yeah.
Maybe not medical. I know somebody that does, but I haven't talked to him about his practice since he started. But
well, the one thing that before we jump into it, the one thing I don't see on here is like wealth services, like financial advisor.
Oh, that's a great one.
I bring that up because like it's nice out now and I'm golfing a little bit more, and the guys that are always out there are those guys, you know?
Yes, 100%.
Like, cause I'll go out there, you know, a lot with my dad, like even just for an hour during the week, and we'll see the same people playing 18 holes, and my dad's always asking, I'm like, how's the market doing? I'm like, he must be in financial management. Like, so it seems like
this looks like a financial planner.
And the market's not even killing it right now, and they're still out there. They're still working on that swing. I'm jealous.
All right, you got one you want to start with?
Yeah, sure. I guess we can just start with that first one, the medical practice.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I think anything medical is usually pretty good. Like my sister's a doctor, my brother-in-law's a doctor. They make a boatload of money.
Yeah.
He just put in a simulator in his garage that's like unreal.
Yeah.
So they must be doing okay.
Yeah. So I think this is one of the few S tiers for me.
What's S again?
S is the best. I don't know what it stands for. We're too old to know YouTube.
The younger people watching.
It goes S, A, B, C, and D. So D would be the worst. S is the best. Maybe super? I don't know. Somebody tell us in the comments. Yeah, I think the owning your own medical practice, like if you're a family practice doctor or something, yeah, I could see there being a lot of stress and a lot of annoying calls, but you can pretty much set your own hours, and the
only
financial end is almost unlimited.
Yeah, I think the only thing with that is like you're kind of operating like an employee. Like whether you're a lawyer or doctor or whatever, it's like you got to be there. They're paying for you. As opposed to like when we get to real estate, it's like maybe you're not going to cash flow like a doctor's practice would cash flow, but like you don't have to be there, you know? So you say S, but at the same time it requires a lot of time, a lot of school.
Yeah, that's a great point too, is like, yeah, you gotta, I mean, even like, I'm thinking of the dentist, like the people that own that, the dentist that I go to, they're there all the time. They're in people's mouths all day. Yeah, I'm sure they're making good money.
I've known some doctors too that, like Mike Schacht, he our like cousin-in-law, he went out and got an MBA like kind of simultaneously as he was getting his, while he was in medical school, I think. So like for that reason, I don't think he owns his own practice now, but that was like the intent because like, I think you can make a lot more money when you have your own practice.
I think one positive you get from owning your own medical practice is you're dealing with pretty much exclusively professionals. You know, none of your employees every employee you have is probably highly educated, detailed. You know, you're not dealing with the crazy stuff that you'd see in the back kitchen of a restaurant or on a construction site where like employees are just, you know, I don't know how to say
Their
this.
Their minds would be blown.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, what? This is what you deal with?
Yeah. All right. I'm going to put medical on A then. We do have like lawyers and engineers. I put that all under professional services like me. So we'll get to them. But yeah, we'll put medical in A. What you got next?
Let's just go down the list. So restaurant owners next.
Restaurant owner. What do you think about owning a restaurant?
Man, I don't know anything about this. I would put it middle of the road. What's the middle?
Yeah, B. I actually kind of agree. I heard little coffee shop owners here. You can't see. I'm so excited for you to edit this later because the pictures are so cheesy. They're like the most clip art, perfect little pictures. Yeah, I would agree. I think the ceiling is there. You can make a lot of money, but you've shared it's extremely hands-on. You're dealing with all sorts of types of people.
It's risky too.
Very high risk. The hours are bad. You know. Yeah.
So I think when you have the opportunity, so like someone could get into restaurant ownership that, and be successful, even if they're, not like the brightest star.
Yeah.
You know? Like, they might know food and they might just like open up a bar and get lucky and the volume's there, you know, and they might be a lawyer, do something else on the side, or just like, I've always wanted to own a restaurant. I don't really know what I'm doing.
Like
and
then
just like the stars align or the planets align. Stars don't align. My dad told me a couple days ago. But if the planets align, then it's like, you know, you could kill it. And like you said, the ceiling is there. If the volume's there and your costs are in line, like you could make a good amount of money, you know? And it's different. If you just own one restaurant, it might be, you're kind of operating it and you can operate it a little bit more efficiently because you're kind of running the show, or you can scale it and maybe have a little bit more flexibility, still have to deal with a lot of stuff, but like, you know, you don't have to be there turning the ovens on to like in order to make money. You know, it's just like, there's a lot of variables there that could either help make you really successful or like be your downfall.
Yeah. I like it. I like a B tier. I think it's got some positive and some negatives.
All right. So next is retail store.
Retail store. I
don't even know, dude. Like,
I think
how
bad.
Why would you open up a store? You could just sell stuff on eBay. I don't know, man. Like, because your rent could be,
especially brick and mortar. Yeah, like your
rent could be $3,000 to $8,000 a month.
Yeah.
And depending on the size of the space and where you're located.
The competition with online is insane.
Like, how much can they be? Like, how much of a discount are you getting when you buy something like wholesale like that? You know, like, do they have some magic like catalog or website that they're? I mean, I know they're getting better deals than the average person, but like, how much are you making? Like, what percentage is profit on like selling a canoe or like a shirt or something? Like, are you making like $1 on that? And then you're paying, if you have anyone working in the store with you, and to save money, you're probably there a lot, so you don't have to have all these employees. Like,
it's bad hours. You got to be open Saturdays and Sundays because that's when people are out shopping. Yeah, I totally agree. And like, I think the rock and a hard place is, okay, with Amazon, they sell everything that you can commercially get. So I think a lot of small town business owners are like, okay, let's get the niche stuff, the stuff that isn't on Amazon. The problem with that is all that niche stuff now is direct to consumer brands. So any store you go into that has, like a cute little plate or a candle, like, yeah, you can buy it from that store, and the conversion is probably higher in store than online. But every plate and candle have the company. You can go directly to that brand's website and they'll sell it to you directly, and it's probably pretty close to the same price, if not cheaper.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think direct to consumer makes a lot more sense in today's day and age than brick and mortar. And mortar retail seems so tough.
Yeah, like, and then I think, like, as you talk about that, I kind of think of like the journeyman store, at their restaurants. Like, they're producing the whiskey, and now they brew beer. Like, they're producing that and selling that, and it's kind of like an extra thing, just an extra, and their own shirts and all that. Like, I don't know everything they sell, but that's got to make a little bit more sense because it's also branding and marketing,
Yeah, and it's part of the experience. Yeah, and it's attached to an established restaurant, brewery, distillery. Like, all that stuff is already going on. It makes all the sense in the world to add a brick and mortar. Like, you have people there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if you're like, hey, a place opened up downtown, I think I'm going to sell my skateboards. It's like, I don't know that I would. Any friend, I don't know that I'd recommend them getting into that.
I can't imagine doing that.
Sorry, retail owners. I think I'm going to put you in D tier.
Maybe it's amazing. I don't know.
If you own retail and we're wrong,
leave a comment and then subscribe.
In either order, it really doesn't matter.
All right. Next is real estate.
Real estate. Okay. In your mind, is this running a real estate brokerage, or are you owning a building that you rent?
Building.
Okay, yeah, that was my thought too.
I would probably put it on the not middle of the road, but a little bit higher up than that.
I was on the high side for me too. People that own buildings, I feel like they're also ones on the golf courses a lot.
Yeah, but they might have made their money doing other things too. Because like real estate can be speculative. It's an appreciation game.
Yeah.
So like from my experience, and I've talked about this, like you don't necessarily cash flow like you would on the retail side of things. So
right.
So like when you get your note paid off, whether it's like a 15 or 30, and then like, maybe depending on how many, what you own, like if you're just getting rent, all you're paying is like property taxes and, but that's probably built into the rent of the tenant anyways. But it can be really good. And then you sell that building for, $3 million. Maybe you would have sold it for $1 million 30 years ago, and now it's appreciated. It's like there is a ton of value in that. But in terms of like the short term, my father-in-law, this is the only business he's ever been in is owning rental units, like apartment buildings in like Wicker Park in Chicago. So like that's been his business since day one, and he's been successful because mainly by the grace of God, but like mainly because Wicker Park was not a desirable area that he thought would be desirable, and he was right,
Yeah.
So like his rents went up, but even with that, I mean, they're always like pretty levered, because they'll refinance to either make improvements or to buy an additional property. So, they're always working with the bank's money.
Yeah. It's a huge barrier to entry too. Like you need a lot of cash.
Yeah. 25%, to make a commercial investment.
Yeah. Right. Even
sorry,
I think I can edit that out.
Yeah.
Evan just banged the microphone with his water glass.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah, even if you're like, hey, I'm going to buy a duplex downtown, like because it's not your primary residence, you're going to need way more cash up front than you would. You're not going to qualify for the 3.5% FHA loan.
No.
All that stuff is gone. It's a commercial, like you said, a commercial investment. So,
there's a lot of things that play into it, like timing. What was your interest rate? Like if you're starting right now, the rates are 7 something.
Yeah.
They're not great. But if you got in to something during COVID or before that, and you're at like 2.75 and you're just hanging on to it, it's like, that's going to be that makes a big deal. That in the long, I don't know, just being able to cash flow and make your numbers work, in the short term, which and then in the long term, it's, you're in really good shape with real estate. So
yeah, I'm going to put it A, second from the top.
Okay.
I like that. I feel like we're on the same page with that one.
That's been I've talked about this too in like previous episodes, but that's kind of been our perspective, or our goal is to own all of our buildings,
Yeah.
like that we have restaurants in. So we're kind of doing a little bit of both, like even if the restaurant doesn't make money 1 month, it's like, well, it paid off, $6,000 in principal.
Yeah.
You just get that much closer to like paying off the building. So it's, and that's been like the model of like, Chick-fil-A and a lot of these other like, larger chains is like they're more so in the real estate business than like the McDonald's. Same way.
Yeah, exactly. Which is super interesting. But
yeah,
they make sandwiches to own real estate, not the other way around.
Exactly. I will say though, on that note, it like with the opportunity with real estate, if you own like in our case with the apartment buildings, we are starting to do more Airbnbs, and I've talked about this before, but like we're almost done with our third one. So we're like staging it right now and putting away all the plates and stuff. Like if you can do that and there's demand for it, you have the opportunity to like at least 2 times not at least, because it depends on the market, but like we've typically at least 2 times our money on what we would get for rent in that unit. Sometimes closer to 3 times,
Oh, with the short-term rental.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a little bit more to manage, but like my wife manages it, and we have cleaners, like an app that we use. Like we've tried to simplify it as much as possible. But like we can make more money, and like the building stays in better shape if we do short-term, because every time they move out, cleaners are coming in. My maintenance guy, Tony, is like always on site. He can go in there and like fix something. If you don't go into someone's apartment building for like a year or 2 and you walk in when they move out and you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to take us like 2 months to get it back to where it needs to be,
That's really interesting.
So we've liked the Airbnb thing. So we're going to kind of keep slowly doing that one at a time and just see like, is the demand still there? Because we don't, if the market's oversaturated, then it's not going to be there, and just go back to renting it long term. But short term, if the demand is there, is great, because you're kind of it's kind of a combination of like retail and real estate, in a sense.
Yeah. That's
so
super interesting.
There.
Professional services, that next.
Yeah.
So I think this is the category I would fall into, but
yeah, you can do all the talking on this one.
Architects, engineers, lawyers. I think this is probably maybe not S tier for the same reasons as medical. Like, you're constrained by time. You are a little bit exchanging your time for dollars,
mm-hmm.
but on the positive end, especially when you're getting into like lawyers and stuff, their time is very, very valuable. And so there's still a really high ceiling on this. You have normal hours, usually working with, adults. There is a high barrier to entry. You need a pretty high level of education or expertise. What I do, I don't necessarily need like a license or anything for, but it does help in being an expert in floor plans and the software and stuff doesn't come easy. So, but like being in this industry, that's a positive for me now. Like, I kind of like that there's a barrier to entry. Makes it easier for me to find work. So yeah, I'd put it at A. I'm not going to go S because I don't feel like,
if you're comparing like with this, in this category, a lot of times people would be paying for a specific person, like a lawyer, I want this guy representing me. Same thing as a doctor. I want that guy operating on me.
Yep.
The difference between this and like medical is I feel like with medical, there could be emergencies on the weekend where it's like somebody, something crazy happened and like I need to get a hold of my doctor.
Yeah.
As opposed to this, I feel like, when you're in a professional service where it's like we're open from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I feel like if someone reached out to you on the weekend, it's never going to be that much of an emergency. And you might there could be anomalies, but like 9 times out of 10, they're probably like, I will get back to you on Monday morning. And I have, when I'm in my office.
Yeah, that's what I do.
They're like, okay.
Which is kind of nice. I have pretty normal weekends.
So I think there's a benefit to that. If I know with medical, it's like doctors can make a boatload of cash, but like we're weighing different factors here too.
Right.
So I think that should, but I don't know what kind of money those guys, I think lawyers do well, obviously.
Yeah. Architects and engineers can be all over the board. Some of them are up there with lawyers and doctors, and then there's some that are a lot lower.
Well, and it's one of those industries too where like they could be like you, where I just do it myself and I don't have any employees, or they could scale it and have like a firm, and they're maybe at that point maybe they make more money or not as much money, but they have more of the flexibility because they've got a team working for them.
Yeah.
So so there's different ways that it can be approached.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
So what would you put it at?
I have it at A, second from the top.
Okay.
Construction company.
This is also in your wheelhouse.
Yeah. Been with the family business. I go back and forth on this one. I think the ceiling is there, even up like with doctors and lawyers. Like a good year in construction, you can make a lot of money. But then I think on the flip side, a doctor is always going to have work unless something drastic changes in our medical system. But like a builder can have a catastrophic floor drops out. You lose your own personal house. You have to live in a rental unit that you just built and sell the rest of it. Like
we've seen the ups and downs with like even your dad, when things are great. It's like, and your dad's so generous, where it's like money's flying everywhere. And then, like early on when we were young, it was like you were getting all my hand-me-downs and things were a little bit tighter, and it depends on the market. I mean, there's a lot of variables in that industry too.
I tell Stacy, I'm like, I feel like I had 2 childhoods. One is like a poor kid, one is a rich kid. Like it is kind of like that. It's just, it's wild. I don't know. I'd put it in like B or C. Just because I wouldn't ever want to own one.
Yeah.
It just doesn't sound, and this is all I've done my whole life. Like our grandpa was a builder. Obviously my dad is like, the opportunity is there if I want to own a home building company someday. And I don't really want to.
I don't think like grandpa ever like was rolling in the dough though. But maybe he didn't scale it. Like your dad's hustled pretty hard.
Yeah, I think my dad had much more of a sales marketing mind than Grandpa did.
Yeah.
Grandpa was like, I'm going to build a house and then move on to the next one. Like he was, my dad isn't building anything on his jobs. I think until Grandpa retired, he was like literally hands-on on most of his jobs. Like I think toward the end, he had some guys that helped him with stuff, but I think he framed and poured all his own foundations and did his plumbing. And at least from the stories my dad tells me, I don't know. I was young, so I don't really remember too much of it. But like, yeah, it's really hard to scale if you're going to build all the stuff yourself. You know, it's 1 or 2 a year. So yeah, Grandpa made a good life for him and Grandma and our moms. But yeah, you're right. I don't think he was like.
But your dad got real aggressive too with like, I feel like when maybe his perspective changed when they did like the Hawthorne and then the one next to Country Club Estates, like with Harvest Homes, you know, even though that didn't go well because the partnership thing was not working. Like, I think maybe during that time, it might have changed his perspective to see what the ceiling is if he grew it and did it like himself, as opposed to having partners. So just like in any business, like who you're partnering with, if you have to partner, is like crucial. And is this person adding value? Like you see people going on Shark Tank and it's like they're giving up, a lot of times they're giving up so much equity, but I think they really they feel the need to work with someone that's like experienced.
Yeah.
You know, and like helping them along. So like if you need a partner and, you know, whether it's to raise the capital, you know, which I would prefer not to have a partner for that reason, because I feel like you can always kind of borrow money from the bank. I mean, easier said than done, but you know, having someone that really brings value, especially in areas that maybe you struggle with or don't have the experience or expertise in, to complement your skills is like the way to go about a partnership when it comes to that stuff. That's kind of a side note, but
I'm gonna put it in C unless you disagree.
I'm gonna take your lead on that.
Alrighty. Creative services.
ask Wade.
I feel like this is another tough one. Just like when we've talked a lot AI.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first industry to go. Copywriters, graphic designers, you know, website designers. Like website designers are basically gone now because Squarespace made it so easy. You know, companies like that made it so easy to just throw up a website or Shopify or whatever. And with social media, you don't even really need a website in 2025, depending on what your business is. But yeah, I think this is a tough one to be in.
Yeah. This a guy that we both know who we're kind of friends with, Wade, he owns We Create in town, and they like, for some reason, they've just been it seems like they've been so successful.
Yeah,
you know, crushes like you can be successful in this space. I mean, they've got contracts. Like every time I see him, he's like, "Oh yeah, we got a contract with the state of Indiana." And like they redesigned the logo for Indiana.
Yeah,
like the entire. And you're like, "What?"
Yeah,
you know, and they're working with like Hotel Del Coronado and like all these big. Like, how is it all like? I mean, he's super personable. So like, I would imagine he'd be like an awesome salesperson. You know, but like, and they're really talented. You know, they put out good stuff, but I haven't really talked to him about it, but I would, next time I see him, I'd almost want to ask him like, what's your perspective just with AI, you know, like going into the next 5 to 10 years, what do you think?
Yeah.
Like, are you going to be as profitable as you are now? And he's the kind of guy that's like always trying to add some new component to what they do. Like he's very forward thinking.
Yeah. I'm sure he's thought about it for sure.
So I'm sure they have some sort of strategy, but like the average, like, website design. I feel like thinking about our website designer, Jared from JWM, like I feel like he produces a good website. It's pretty affordable and he hosts them, kind of cranks them out. And you know, I think he can make a decent living doing that. He's not like trying to be some high end, like, you know, spend $30,000 and I'll do all this stuff for, like, it's, you know, you got to kind of find a niche and stick with it. But even with that, like maybe he's concerned. It's just having someone that like just can do it, and like, yeah, AI is great, but like I still got to do it and make it, like produce it and make it come to life. And it's probably going to be easier to do that in, 5 to 10 years than it is still right now.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's worth it to spend $2,000 on a website and just not even have to like think about it, just give him all the content and like it's done.
Even if he's using AI or some website builder, it doesn't
care
matter.
what he does.
Yeah. Right. It's interesting. I'm still leaning toward putting this on the low side, maybe in D tier, just because, I don't know. Maybe it's not D, because like with retail's in D tier because you have a lot on the line. You have a big investment. You have to stock a store. And
it's just like, how do you make money? You know, if your markups are razor thin,
I think
just like a grocery business, like, that's what my family was in on my dad's side. And like, they didn't, I mean, that's not on here, but like, just bring that up now. It's like they were successful. My grandpa was successful, but like they had to do a ton of volume, and they're, if you have theft and stuff, it's like, you're not, it can be tough to make money, So at least with website design, you're not paying for a physical product that you're marking up. It's like it kind of falls back into the professional services where it's your time and your knowledge and all that, this is what you're paying for. So I don't think it would be lower than retail.
Yeah, I'm gonna go C then. C with it. Step up from retail.
Okay.
Because you're right. There's a low barrier to entry, and you have normal hours. You don't have to deal with this stuff on the weekends either. There's no emergencies in that industry.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if a website goes down or something, but that stuff has to be really rare. I mean, if you're good at it, but yeah.
I think that's one that could, in 5 years, you could have a completely different answer depending on just how AI will affect that one probably the most. Like even like these printouts, like I wanted to design a printout for Lenny's to put in our to-go bags. And like, I could have hired someone to do it, or I could have done something basic, but I uploaded all the information and materials into ChatGPT, and it was like someone had designed it for me. It looked really good, and it's like, well, okay. It would have either not looked as good, or I could have paid someone, $300 to design that.
Yeah.
But like, I cranked it out in 20 minutes, just myself. So, that's kind of a fluid one where it could change in a short amount of time.
All right. So repair services, home repair, roofers, plumbers, auto repair, mechanics, auto body shops. All that stuff. What do you think here?
I think this one's not bad.
Yeah, I would put it a B. I think the positive you get is you have a never-ending supply of demand. People's roofs will always go out. People's cars will always need fixing. Even if we go to all electric vehicles, like there's going to be stuff that always needs updating and always needs maintained. So I think if you're halfway decent at it, you're going to have work for life. Relatively easy to scale. I think there is high overhead. You're buying a lot of heavy equipment, a lot of big trucks. There's a lot of stuff that goes into these fields.
Yeah. I think you want to own your own business for sure.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're talking about. That's the whole point. But like, I look at my HVAC guy or like plumbers that, that have been successful. It's like, my HVAC guy has a Corvette and like, he's done pretty well, but like he's extremely hands-on and runs his business pretty lean to do that. And there might be other approaches from companies that want to scale it. Same thing. Anytime you scale, you might have more flexibility, but you've got more people working for you.
Yeah. I feel like this is pretty similar to restaurants in that like you're dealing with a lot of like similar employee base. You have the high ceiling, but you also have the high overhead.
And the unknown of like, I might get a call on the weekend and I might, maybe I'm going to charge overtime, but I got to like go out there.
Yeah. A roof for a water line or something like that. Or electric, if something like that goes out, you're working. Yeah. I'll put that one in B.
Yeah. And you gotta know like what you're doing, like it's not like with restaurants. I feel like someone could get into it. Like I said, that doesn't really have much experience and like get lucky and be successful, you know? Like this, you have to go to like school for, kind of like trade school, you know?
Yeah. Or work for somebody for years. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't start an HVAC company unless you know how to at least run a house, you know?
You could buy into a franchise.
Yeah.
You know, like my brother-in-law who was an executive for Walmart, he wanted to own his own business. So he bought into like, I don't know if it's like Paul Miller or like it's some chain that like does this. It's kind of like a Serve Pro. Like like a restoration.
Okay. Yeah.
Where he was I mean, I would imagine he kind of like went through this process, like what would be the best business to own, you know? So it's kind of interesting. Like he's got a lot of executive experience, but he wanted to be, he always wanted to be a small business owner. And that's what he kind of landed on after doing research for a couple of years. So I think he was able to be trained, you know, in that, and like he knows how to build a team and all. Like he has other skills, but he's not like a fix it handyman type of guy either.
Interesting.
So
consulting.
I mean, this has to be like S, right?
Oh, you think so? Yeah, like
I think. I mean, I don't know. My other brother-in-law is a consultant, medical consultant. He builds hospitals, and like he's living large.
I'm fine putting this in S because I feel like there's very little overhead. If you know something, you can just do it. The only minor negative I think is this, similar to professional services and medical, like they're paying for you.
Yeah.
But it's a ultra premium if you're good. And what I love is there's no liability, responsibility at all. Yeah. Really, like if you say a bunch of stuff and it doesn't work, like they still paid you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You can always kind of blame it. Well, you kind of did it wrong. I told you what to do, and you didn't do.
It's always the implementation. They have that little clause. Yeah, I'm fine putting this in S.
I would say that would be, like you said, that would be the one downside is like when you go to sell your practice, it might be difficult. You might not be able to sell it for as much value of what it's worth if you're like operating it because it's so much on you.
Huge key man issues there. Same thing I go through. Like, I don't know that I'll ever be able to sell Burnham Design Co. at this state. Like no one would buy. I don't know. Maybe
and I mean, and then when I say that, it's like, is it really an S? Is anything an S? You know,
like I guess
being the king of England maybe is an S. I don't know.
Yeah,
but then you got to go to all these like functions and go
wear the stupid hats.
I think S is YouTube golf content creator. I think like Grant Horvat or one of these guys that just has like 3 million subscribers. Like that's his job, playing golf.
Yeah, I should have put content creator on here. I don't have it. What do you think about hotel?
I think hotel is pretty good. I think I don't really know many hotel. There's Jeff Good owns hotels, and he's been successful. But I think like you know, you look at Trump, it's like okay, he's you know, high-end hotels. I mean, I don't know. They're probably doing all right.
Yeah. I think this is also like it's also huge cash infusion, similar to real estate. And then also, really variable with market. I think if things get bad, travel's the first thing that goes.
So I just asked ChatGPT, like how much money does like a mid-level, you know, hotel make, like just a basic hotel, like Holiday Inn. So average size 100 to 150 rooms, daily rate 110 to 160, occupancy 65 to 75%. So the formula is rooms times occupancy percentage times ADR. I don't know what that is. And then accessory dwelling room. I don't know what that is. 365 days. So it's projecting revenue around 3 to 5 million. And then the margins it's saying is 10 to 20%. So like,
okay.
So, you know, the range could be 300K to $1 million.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, 10 to 20% is pretty comparable to restaurants, you know? So in terms of quality of life, if sometimes you go into those like hotels that are run by Indians and like you can tell like you're the owner, you're doing everything, like you're hustling, and you'd have to imagine that they're keeping their costs down. They know what they're doing to keep their costs down and make money.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're not there, it always kind of comes back to that,
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, if in terms of like quality of life though, like it is not a fast pace. Like the pressure of restaurants when it's busy, that's the downside is like, if you want it to be busy, but you want it to be consistently busy and then find your rhythm,
Yeah.
Because when it's really busy and fast paced, then it can get very stressful, but like how stressful is it to like operate a hotel? If you're, you gotta have people in place, and sometimes you see the checkout or the reception get backed up, I guess. Like that. Is that their biggest level of stress?
It's probably, but it is, again, bad hours. It's Fridays to Sundays are your busiest times. That's probably when you're most hands-on.
If you have to be hands-on.
Yeah.
Sometimes like I would think a lot of restaurant owners hotel owners aren't like in the hotel all the time.
Yeah.
I would guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're probably right.
But if it's easy to run, I mean, 10 to 20% solid, you own the building, you own the real estate, like that. There's a benefit to that for sure,
For sure. Last one I got on here, financial planner. I'm gonna put an S too up there with consulting of like,
just give me your money and we'll make you more money.
Yeah. I think, I don't know.
No strings attached. Like it's not like, dude, what the heck? Like I didn't get a 10% return over last year.
They could be like, oh, market was bad.
the old market.
I feel like there's a lot of shrugging in financial planning. I don't know. If you're a financial planner, this is wrong. Let me know.
You got to talk to Jerome Powell. I don't know, man. Sorry. Yeah, I would think that's pretty good.
Yeah. All right. If you run a business, let us know how you feel about your place of work. What tier would you put it in?
Do you agree with these tiers? Would you change anything?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments.
Let us know.